Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome to this transmission. Today's video is just a few thoughts I wanted to share about the concept of chords, chord cutting, psychic chords, all that sort of stuff. This is it could be quite broad and a complex concept. But for those of you who may not be super familiar with the idea, in New Age circles and in healing work, often we do a process which is called chord cutting. And what that serves to do, or the idea it's based on, is that there is psychic energy that exists. And as a person, we've been moving through life, and certain people that we engage with, certain relationships we have, cause us to become linked to another person and another person's energy field through the establishment of these psychic chords, energetic chords. And you might notice that you're feeling an influence by somebody. You might notice that you're taking on somebody else's energy, and you may not have necessarily been around them. But there's a lot of information about chords, and honestly, I think it's something that I didn't fully understand until I really dived into the experience of our subtle body and how we engage, with others on an individual level, as well as on the subtle level. As we can engage physically, but we also have the way that our energy engages and our intentions, our mind, and a lot of the time we're not conscious of these chords, but they'll be created, and a lot of the time, we find ourselves being impacted by a person long after we may have ended a relationship, or we may be impacted by a situation long after it passed, through this sense of connection with somebody else. So I will keep the explanations quite simple for this. What came up for me this week? I heard somebody else mention the idea of chords, and I thought it's really interesting. So often when we think of doing chord cutting, we'll do it through visualizations. We may do it through healing sessions, and we'll tend to have an experience of severing this energetic cord. In some situations, that might be really effective. I personally have never found it particularly effective. It may provide some relief, but it's never provided a permanent fix. There's usually been something far deeper required in order to completely resolve the way a person's energy is interacting with me. Now, we can also talk about the idea of psychic attacks. This is something which I don't really want to go into too much in this video. I find the idea of being under attack is a lower dimensional experience and a lower dimensional thought. And as multidimensional beings, we have the capacity to experience things on different levels. So I'll stick with just the broad term of chords, energetic chords, and chord cutting. So, so we can go through these processes of visualizing, Archangel Michael or something like that, or whatever comes for our visualization to sever these energetic chords. And as I said, sometimes it may be effective, sometimes not. And the reason that it very often may not be effective is because in order for a chord to exist, it needs to have something to plug into. Now, that means that there has to be a sense of resonance. So I have this mental or visually, I kind of see almost like plugs in our energy field, or hooks. I refer to hooks, but they're vibrational hooks. And so if there's a chord, I'm not 100% comfortable with the term chord, but I think for the purpose of this explanation, it's very valid. So, if perhaps there's a situation that occurs with a certain other person, and, there's this visualization of a chord coming and attaching to your energy field. That chord might be open to exchange energy. They may draw energy from you. You may receive their energy. Either way, if it's not for your highest good. But the thing is that if there is this chord, this attachment is coming, and if we think about the concept of magnetism, magnets have to be polarized, or they have to have the correct energy to be drawn in. Similarly, a chord, in order to hook into you, you must already have a corresponding or resonant frequency within your energy field that is able to entertain the attachment of this of this psychic hook or this energy. Now, this can go for chords between relationships with people. This also refers to the when we've had certain events that might stay with us and attached to us, the energy or the vibe of that. And so what I am actually, just let me check my notes. So in terms of perhaps doing all this work, which is focused on what's outside of us, I invite you to consider the possibility that when you feel there's an attachment, there's a chord, or when you want to do some energy work in that way, look not just into the visualization or the mantra that takes back your authority or that commands this energy out of your field, but reflect back on what lies within you that can give this attachment life. What is it within you that is enabling this chord to remain an impact on your life, on your mind, on your energy field? And that can be an unpopular point of view. Again, I mentioned that because we experience things from lower vibrational consciousness and higher vibrational consciousness, once we do the healing work, once we've been able to reflect at what state of mind have I embodied that has enabled this person, what fear do I have that has enabled this person's attitude to so deeply affect me through this connection. So I hope this is landing. It can be quite a complex concept, but at the end of the day, nothing can exist outside of us or in our field of awareness unless we first give it permission, and that's not necessarily conscious permission. So a couple of things to also be aware of. This I acknowledge this can be really hard. And I speak from experience, of wanting to reclaim my energy back from certain situations. And, if a particular connection or attachment or chord is something that we've always known, to speak a mantra and to visualize cutting that chord That's not going to change the innate story that lies within us, because it's become part of our identity. Perhaps there's something to, a situation when we've been growing up. And so the fact that we are embodying this energetic imprint means that even if we do a chord cut, we're still carrying that imprint. So that just plugs right back in. And so I can't share strongly enough how deeply the power is in your hands, but it has to be power coming from within. We can't change our outside world, stay the same, and expect our experience to be different. So if we're feeling disempowered by a certain relationship, and I'm not saying that we stay in the relationship or that we dismiss the importance of this external awareness, but I'm simply wanting you to acknowledge that often it's much deeper work that's required, or much more inner work that's required in order to free us from the influence or undesirable inputs from what we might term these psychic cords or these attachments. So yeah, an example of how this might work, and this is a really simple example. You've got a random guy on the street, going nuts at you. This can be some really, really aggressive psychic energy. And, perhaps maybe if you're scared, or you feel like this guy's victimizing you, or you take offense in some way, that actually creates the environment where a psychic cord could be set up, even more potently so if it's somebody you know. So, if you're feeling vulnerable, and if you're feeling an intense emotion, or there's something triggered within you by this encounter, this cord will easily make its home in you. And then perhaps there's, a psychic drain, or perhaps there's, you feel drained, or you're constantly triggered by this energy. But if you've done healing work around this, if perhaps, if some guy yells at me in the street, I'm pretty much okay with it. I don't engage with that. I don't make it mean anything. And that's actually a really important point. When we're going day to day through our life with, encountering people, creating psychic attachments or energetic attachments only occurs when we engage. It only occurs when we open our vessel, our channel, to participate in that engagement. And so when you've done the healing work, somebody yelling at you, it's like, if you can visualize their yelling is like projecting, what you might perceive as darkness or density. If you have nothing within your energy field of that depth or that darkness and that density, then it might move through you, but it has nothing to stick to. And so you might want, take a few deep breaths, shake it out, but then you're going to be fine. As opposed to if there's some kind of triggered resonance of that energy within you, this cord's moving across, and boom, there we go. It's found an attachment. And then it becomes, it embeds itself as a part of your experience or your state of being. So I hope that this has landed. But, in summary, basically, I just want to encourage you to recognize where you have power over things, but also to, I have done many cord cutting exercises, and I don't think any of them have actually dramatically improved the situation. not many, if any. And what it's usually come back to is this need to do more deep release work. What am I holding on to? Not what's holding on to me, but what am I holding on to? Or what am I allowing to exist within me? So you, dear one, have the power over that, but we need to be able to reflect and to shift our own emotional states and our own states of limitation in order that we have these external forces have nothing to connect with. And that is how we shed and how we clear our energy field of all that no longer serves us. So I hope this has been of service for you. If you're curious or have any questions about the concepts that I've talked about, I really invite just comment below. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoy this sort of content, please do like and subscribe, and then you'll get notified when I release more transmissions. So I hope you are well. Thank you for watching, and much love to you.